Party started?
It took a while, but
Hello and welcome everyone. This is the June 2025 meeting of the Lincoln Park High School Local School Council. I would like to begin with a roll call, please. So starting with Jaime Ponce, could you say your name and your role, please?
Yeah, my name is Jaime Ponce. I'm a parent rep.
Veronica Hurd, non-teaching rep.
Leslie Gonzalez, parent rep.
Laura Yepes, parent rep.
Zach Hofeld, community rep.
Eric Lascano, teacher.
Peter Talmers, parent representative.
Eric Steimler, principal.
Amy Zemnick, parent.
Paul Kendrick, community rep.
Okay, great. So we have established a quorum, which is a minimum of 8. We have exceeded that. So I'd like to call the meeting to order and start us on our business. The first item of business is public participation. And so this is a chance when we ask members of the public who are attending, not on the council or on the council, to make a statement. We time you at 2 minutes just so we give everyone sort of equal voice. And we don't respond in the moment, but if there's an item requiring response later, we do follow up either later in the meeting or at a future date. So if there's anyone in the room or online who would like to make a statement, please either step up to the podium or raise your hand online. Hello.
Hello. I just want to say thank you for your service. I know you all have a lot of work and you're coming to the end of the school year, so thank you for your service.
Thank you. Can you state your name, please, so we know who you are?
Jenny Rosenthal, parent.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Rosenthal. Okay. Anyone in the
Check.
online world?
I do not see any hands raised. If anybody online would like to speak, please raise your hand. I do not see any.
Okay, great. The next item is review and approval of minutes from May 2025. I do not believe we have minutes that are available to us, so that's going to be an item of business for the next meeting. So we just don't have anything to act on there. I'll work with our secretary to make sure we get the minutes. We have one other member who's just joined. Could you state your name and role, please?
Catherine Talmer, student rep.
Thank you very much. Okay, so next item on the agenda are celebrations for Lincoln Park High School. This is when we take a moment to catch people who are doing something good, doing something right, doing something worthy that elevates our community. And if anyone has any things to just do as a shout out on the council, that would be great to recognize that.
We graduated 520 seniors, or around 520 seniors this past weekend. Had amazing speeches by our LSC reps during that time, as well as our salutatorian and valedictorian. Did an amazing job. Quigley did an awesome job also representing, being our speaker and really speaking, giving our students a nice charge moving forward. It was just an amazing event. So I appreciate all the faculty, teachers, and staff also who supported and organized it. Ms. Theus for leading that work as well. So it was just a really amazing event, and congratulations to all the LSC members whose children's also graduated on that day. So.
Very nice. Yeah, it was a very nice event. I'll just say, having been there, it was very, very nice. So that was good. Any other celebrations people have?
So I know May 17th was the last soccer game for the Fresh Soft, and they won. I think it was like 5-0 or 5-1, something like that. But yeah, it was a good game.
I just learned of something fun that's happening today at 4:30 outside, which is a softball game of the students against the coaches and the parents. So that's very exciting. And I think we have a member of our community who's going to be heading out there shortly. So that sounds like a fun game. I'd love to go watch that, but we're going to be in here.
Our teachers and staff organized a secret spirit wear. That's why I'm wearing a summer shirt, because that is part of the day, and sunglasses. I don't wear summer shirts on every day, but I have it on right now just to celebrate that moment. We'll take it off and be a little bit more normal, but it's been really kind of a fun week and an event of different things that we've been doing together. So
that's great. You know, one other celebration I'd like to highlight is the garden club at Lincoln Park High School, which has planted a ton of flowers out in the mall and around the building. This I know was led by Mr. Cottons, who's one of our math teachers and was an LSC rep last year, but he is deep into the dirt and plants and flowers, and you can see them. They're even labeled around, and they'll be growing throughout the spring and summer. So as you come back to campus, please enjoy them. But that's really a, that we don't have a staff to be doing that kind of landscaping, but the students, along with Mr. Cottons, put that together, and I thought that was great. And then one other related thing is last year, there was some money allocated to plant grass seed in the mall just against the building. That was all dirt and it was very muddy. And our engineer, Mr. Cantori, got a tiller and planted seed, and now it's all green grass, so it's very pretty and less muddy. So that's something else that's nice from seeds planted a year ago, literally and figuratively. So, okay. Anything else?
Not a celebration, but well, maybe it is for you, Peter. But I just wanted to thank you and also Jaime and Alicia, who are stepping off in their service to the LSC. And Peter, it's not an easy job. Uh-oh. But you certainly have set the bar very, very high for what is to be expected of this job. The amount of time and effort that you put into it really, really, I think, kept us all on the rails. So thank you. And you will definitely be missed here next year.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Thank you. I always, thanks. I always remember the watching, like in the growing up when the USSR was around, that when someone would give a speech, like honoring someone, even the person being honored would like clap as well. And I always thought that was so strange. Like here, we just bow. So we did a little.
I'd like to just tack on real quick. To everybody, thank you for your service. The monthly time is, I mean, it's, we come to expect it, but you know, it matters that you make time for this in your life, and you know that it impacts the school, impacts the lives of kids and their education. So thank you to everybody. And then also to Peter, especially, I feel young and like but I've seen some LSC meetings and having, you know, served previously at Wells Community Academy High School and also serving at Walter Payton, and your dedication and I think talent also at leading these meetings is really second to none. So I really thank you for leading us and for doing a wonderful job and really making an impact for hopefully for the betterment of kids, which I think you've done.
Very kind. Thank you.
Amen.
Thanks. Thanks. Well, I certainly could not do it without this group who makes it all possible. So thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. So next is we have Friends of Lincoln Park High School. I would like to actually I think procedurally, I would like to propose that we move one of the committee reports up, and that's basically so Denise Morris can attend the Watch Her Daughter and the teachers play softball game outside. So if we could do the Friends of report and then maybe have her come up, do we need to vote to change the order, or is that, anyone know? This.
Move to amend the.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to move item 7B, extracurriculars, as part of item number 5 or 5.5.
I second that motion.
Okay. All those in favor? All right. Thank you. Great. Okay. So Friends of, Leslie, I assume that's you.
I gotta be better prepared next time for this. So the Friends of had a quick meeting back third week of May. And they had discussed you know what? Can we let Denise go first?
You speak up
Can we
just
let,
a little bit.
Denise go first and then I can
Oh, yeah, sure. Denise, would
my
you like to come and
notes
go
together.
first?
That unless
For reordering the agenda. I didn't realize it would take a motion to do so, but appreciate it. I'm as the booster rep, I'm hosting this year-end softball game and then party afterwards. So appreciate it. Dr. Semler, do you have would you mind pulling up the deck? So I have just, I promise, a very brief recap of spring athletics and then a little bit about the clubs and plans over the summer to share with you. So let me just thank you for pulling that up.
Put in slideshow mode.
Thank you. Yep. Thank you. Okay. Yep. Next. Great. I know this is a little bit small, so I apologize. But this is just a quick recap of the spring sports season. So these are all the sports happening in spring. All of our sports have concluded. So right now we are in the mode of collecting equipment, collecting uniforms, year-end parties or banquets, recognition, pulling together a ton of photos so that we can build out a new photo gallery. So that's all happening as we wrap up. I just wanted to share some quick highlights with you. Baseball, I mean, an amazing number of games against some very competitive teams. I think Coach Van Dyke has really leveraged his network in the suburbs and in the city. So many games played. There are 2 players who've been cited as all city players, which is awesome. Boys lacrosse, and incredible progress compared to the last couple of years. Just great coaching and great parent engagement, big team, winning season, 4-1 conference. Lost in the regionals to Lane, who I believed won the state tournament. So rough, but just very competitive and looking forward to some great future seasons. I'll combine boys and girls outdoor track, a long list of school records that have been broken by our individual runners. So we will continue to see that progress continue. Boys tennis, I would say just a great culture being built, some great coaching, and of course, expect that to continue as well. Boys volleyball had a great season, lost at the regional level, again, to very competitive teams, but were the city conference champs, which is awesome. Girls soccer had a winning record, 14-9 overall. 9 underclassmen started on the varsity team and really progressed well into the state championships. Girls softball, what can I say? Tough city schedule, lots of games and progress there as well. Girls lacrosse, I would say the main note there is just huge number of players coming out for tryouts and coming out for the teams. And I think softball and girls soccer were a little bit jealous of that, but just great engagement, and under Coach Ruttenberg, just an amazing program. And then last but not least, girls water polo did have a winning record overall, did quite well. We have a freshman, Lorelei Gilbert, who I believe was just named to the USA national team, water polo team. So super impressive. So yeah. So if I could just go back, sorry for a moment. So in terms of head coaches returning, from all indications, the vast majority of our spring coaches will be back next year. We've got a couple of potential openings, but for the most part, most are expected to come back. Looking now to fall, which we're already doing. This is the list of sports in the fall, so quite a number of them. We have been hosting info interest sessions for most of these sports for returning interested players here in the building, but also some separate sessions for incoming freshmen. So really just trying to engage those families as early as possible. I think that's been appreciated. The coaching openings that I'm pretty focused on right now include cheer. Our cheer coach who works here in the building just had a baby, just returned from leave, and she has decided to step down from that role. So we will be looking for a new head cheer coach. I believe she will be telling the team tomorrow at their year-end event, just FYI. And then we will, I need my readers. So we are losing our aquatics coach, Coach Slusher. Will be leaving. And so that impacts girls swim in the fall, boys swim in the winter, and water polo in the spring. So first things first, very focused on a girls swim coach. We've got candidates already in process. This was news received about a week or so ago. And then we have a new head girls volleyball coach who we're very excited about coming over from Latin. And we just had an info session with the returning players earlier today. So she will then build out her coaching staff as well. Coach Lascano, you're a winter sports, so you're not on that list, but also working on your openings as well. So for the summer, we expect to be pretty busy, even in the off season. We have a pretty big gym refurbishment plan in process. I'm not going to go into detail, but includes painting, scoreboard, floors. Very exciting. So that will happen this summer. Veronica, I'm looking at you now. Major storage facility cleanup, which the athletic department is taking on, but we really hope to make a huge dent in purging some very old uniforms and other equipment, and really putting all of our multiple storage spaces to better use. There's an outdoor batting cage on our property that we don't own, but we are looking to do corporate sponsorships for that very enticing real estate that sits right outside. Also discussing internally monetizing the pool usage more. DePaul University will be using it for their men's water polo practice. So we see other opportunities there as well. Overhauling the athletics website. We do need to make a decision around our commitment to Snap Manage, which is a communication tool for our coaches and our teams. Obviously closing all the open coach roles. And then, as I said, just more freshman elementary school engagement, whether it be sports or other activities. Any questions? Yes.
So I have a quick question. On Facilitron, I was just looking at the pricing for some of our rentals.
Yeah.
Is that on your agenda to maybe just do cost comparisons?
Yeah. So I am new to that system, but I do think we should talk about the pricing and whether it makes sense. So I was looking around at some of the other pools and what they're charging, and I think there's some opportunity there.
Just for everyone's context, LP is probably the lowest price when it comes to rental per hour. It's $75 an hour. Roberto Clemente, Ogden, and some other schools charge at least $100 an hour, and all depending on how big of a facility and what the capacity is. Also, the detailed description, you might want to take a look and see how other people have it detailed out. So
Right. Yeah.
Happy to help you with that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, our pool is smaller than most others, but I totally agree. I think that's something that we should look at. There are some other charges that get added to it, so the overall price does end up being
225.
bigger. Yeah.
No, so yeah, we put on engineers and custodians, so it actually is 225 an hour.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you total it up, it's
Think about it.
Depending on the price, maybe that's why we get more bookings, right? So I don't know, you weigh things that way, but still.
Yeah, because any group that comes in and rents any space, even if it's at the same time, it's the same amount.
Any other questions?
Who owns the batting cage?
A gentleman whose name I can't quite remember, but a private individual who is connected to the LPBA, the summer baseball operations.
Okay, and then is he paying us for that?
We're trying to figure that out right now. So
I guess the land that the batting cage is on. Is that CPS land or is
Yes.
it
yeah.
okay? Or just okay?
Yeah,
We're in the works.
We're working through some conversations with that because what was originally communicated of a mutually beneficial partnership,
Right.
I'm not sure it's so mutually beneficial, and therefore we're going to renegotiate
Yeah.
what that partnership looks like.
Yeah.
This isn't necessarily the forum for it yet. I'd like to make sure we engage everybody up first.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So more to come on that. But the real estate is amazingly valuable and we should be taking advantage of that as well.
And just to finish that, since it's on the principal's report, but we'll do it right here since it's the same thing. We do have about $80,000 worth of OST funds for summer engagement. And so with that, we do have clubs and different teams that are doing things over the course of the summer. But we also are partnering with some of our feeder elementary schools. Manier specifically, we're having kind of a summer bridge program with one of our elementary schools. So there's a lot of this, think about it, not necessarily clubs, but it is an extracurricular opportunity. We have our Lion Alignment, which is, or not alignment, our Lion, used to be called Freshman Connection, now is Lion Connection. So we do have a lot of summer activities that are going. So the freshman building will be very busy. The main building, we're trying to do for some other things, but there's a lot of clubs leading up to it. And Ms. Morris is also reflecting on what does that look like in the fall, if we have OST funds or not, but how to continue this moving forward. I just know that we're developing a plan of action together.
Yep. Yeah, I just want to say a couple of things about clubs. So, as Dr. Steinmiller said, we have talked to this group about the fact that we do not know what the funding will be for OST going into next year. There's been a signal that there will be some money and that decision will be communicated 5 days after the budget is finalized. So I don't know what that means from a timing perspective. So we've talked about, what do we do with clubs if the teacher faculty stipend is not available? And there are alternatives that we will discuss, but one input to that was a survey that we sent out this week to all current club sponsors. We've got about roughly 50 clubs. Some sponsors have more than one club. And basically, as of today, of the 50 respondents, we've heard from 22, and about 25 of them said, I'll lead depending on the compensation, so not committal. And then roughly 50% said, I will sponsor regardless, which is great. And then 10% said they can't continue. And then the others we're still waiting to hear from. So the deadline to respond was tomorrow. We'll pull together a summary of that. We also asked for ideas and some other thoughts. So after that closes, we'll share that out. And then
once that closes, will there be an opportunity where we can maybe talk about how we can get people from the community to sponsor clubs to make sure we're ahead of that?
Yes, so I do believe that is definitely an option. So I envision once we see what the current engagement is, once we decide what is the ideal number of clubs and how do we structure that? So how can we engage outside sponsors? How would that work? What else can we do to make our clubs as vibrant as possible? So I have just a short list here. There's a longer list, but let's see what other peer school clubs are doing to be successful. How do we increase student engagement? Many of the clubs are self-run. The sponsors may be in the room, but it really is the students who are leading those clubs. So we need to make sure there are strong leaders or at least one leader assigned to each club. Freshman engagement, of course, once it starts strong, it can continue strong, more PR. So just a number of ideas that we're thinking through, and would like to share more of that in a future meeting. I think that is all I had.
I just want to say, I know it's been year one, but from a coaching perspective, I have noticed that there has been a huge difference in our athletic experience for coaches and student athletes just in your first year that you've been here.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Personally, for me working with you,
Mm.
it was very helpful. So thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Miss Denise. Okay, Lincoln Park High School, Friends of Lincoln Park.
All right, thank you. Sorry about that. So on May 20th, we broke records. We had our fastest 45-minute meeting ever. There was low attendance, but we did go over the auction, and I believe we surpassed by a couple grand. So they wanted to.
This is the auction at the benefit, the gala?
Yes, the
Okay.
gala, the auction that they had at the gala. I believe I don't even want to throw out numbers, but I know that their goal was hit, and they even went a little above that.
I think it was
They were-
45,000 and they hit 47,000 is what I heard from them. So
I believe you.
yeah, no, which is
Yes.
great. It's great.
Yeah, no, it's good. We had a discussion on where those funds were going to go, and they want to buy some extra smart boards to tap out with. I think there's 10 smart boards left in the school that they have to purchase, and they're buying 7 or 8. The number wasn't it wasn't confirmed on the number, but they were going to buy hopefully the rest of them, but we'll see. Also, they were wanting to put half of what the painting of the gym is going to cost. So I guess the Friends of is donating the other half of that. There's quite a few seats that are going to be opening up on the committee. So we're not really final on who's leaving where and what, but I can tell you Nicole from, let me see where it's her name, Nicole from communications. So we'll be having a available seat there. Sarah from the yard signs. There's a couple seats. So I would say if anybody's interested in joining the Friends of, attending a meeting, seeing what chairs or seats are available for different positions that they have open, that'd be great. Also, there was, last thing that happened was they were voting on chairs for next year, or their positions for next year. So a lot of the officers that are staying are pretty much staying where they are now. But that's pretty much it. That's all that was discussed, because a lot of people are moving, a lot of opening committee seats are going to be available. So hopefully next year we'll have a better idea on who's doing what. But it's
Okay.
pretty much the whole meeting. It was the fastest meeting ever. It was lovely.
Great, great. Well, thank you. Any questions for Friends of? Okay, let's move on. Next, so Dr. Simon, I think it's over to you now for a bunch of stuff. Yeah, I'll just turn over to your principal's report.
Yeah, we did not have a budget subcommittee this week. We had one the week before. The entire focus of that was on budget itself. I'll explain more of that. Kind of, this is broken down. It'll be the last part will be about the budget. So I'm kind of is bearing the lead for our major part of the conversation, because most of what I'm engaging with today is really about our budget and approving that budget today. It's due today, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. So as it pertains to, and it's on here just for any, we do not have any transfers at this May 9th. They upped the budget transfers for the district about 3 or 4 weeks. So we don't have any transfers for approval. So there's nothing really to present on that. There are 2 things though that I'm presenting on, and that would be for fees and fees for next year. I have the flyer, the same flyer from last year. And I guess the question really before the LSC is, last year we charged $400 for student fees. There's been a lot of conversation I've heard from others of should we increase that to 450, just based off of needs and compensation for what we need to do. I will say the process for the fees we will do very differently from this year. And that's why we're actually putting it to you now to approve the approved fees so that we can add it July 1st when all of our year-end process changes over and all the students are live. They will already have the fees in their accounts so that we will start the conversation about fees when we're engaging all our families throughout July, August, and we're going to start about 2 months earlier than we normally do asking for fees. This will help us also with the financial income information form process to ensure that we are getting those from families who can't pay the fees. We are seeing that a lot of families are really struggling with that, but it'll be for the same purposes. Again, would you like me to put the flyer up on the screen? I don't know if you can actually see it, but all right. Give me just a second.
So I have are we leaving it up for discussion right now on the student fees?
Yeah, it's because the point is it should be 400 or 450. I've heard a lot of people saying it should be 450. When we actually have received the highest giving towards the fees is when it was actually 450, not 400. And so that's something for us to consider, that when we hit 300 something 3 or 4 years ago, it actually wasn't 400, it was 450. And that extra amount was part of this, that we had a larger total. We currently have collected $298,000 worth of fees at 400. So something for us to just think about of how we can, again, just get more resources. I think this is almost in reverse. Maybe I should just present on budget because you'll know that every dollar of our budget is going to salary and benefits, not a single dollar. Actually, I take that back. $2,130 is all that's left. That's in a supply line so that we can buy paper. 2,130, that is all that's left. And that doesn't mean that it will stay, because once we hire people, then we may have to offer, that's from the actual budget for SY26. I'll explain that when I talk about the budget for approval for today.
Are you saying there's only $2,000 left of the student fees collected for the student year?
No. For the budget that I'm presenting for us for approval for SY26, 99.9999% is going to salary and benefits. When all those positions were created, only $2,130 is left for next year's budget from needs-based budgeting. But for this year, what I'm just saying and focusing on the fees for next year is the conversations I've had with PPLC members, different people that not the PPLC, I'm not trying to represent that, but individuals there's a lot of conversation that we should bump it to 450. And that's the conversation really for the LSC. Should it remain at 400 or should it go 100 to 450? I do want to approve it at this LSC meeting, because if we have to wait till August, we can't start collecting it until August. And that puts a delay for me to be able to start in July.
Well, if I can just make a few comments here, I don't think it makes a difference to increase it to 450 versus 400. I think that's not the barrier that we have in collecting fees. It's not the amount, it's the communication piece. And that's really what needs to be strengthened next year in order to see an increase in of collection of student fees. I would say that if you are going to increase it by $50, that's going to be additional based on the numbers that we have today. $37,250. Now, I'm not going to cough at $37,000. I think that that's a significant amount, but it's not enough to like have that be another barrier for someone not being able to afford it. If we have a substantial population within Lincoln Park High School that can't afford the student fees as they are, then we need to recognize that. But we also need to do a better job of communicating to the families that can afford it or can afford part of it to actually pay it.
Just add, I think we went through this process at Peyton a couple weeks ago, and I agree with everything that was just said. Just to clarify, am I correct in understanding that increasing the fees would not in any way alter the availability of fee waivers for those individuals who cannot afford the fee?
Correct. Yeah, we would still, if it was a free or reduced waiver, like if it was free or reduced, that they would still receive that.
And secondly, for folks who maybe can afford some of the fee, but not all of the fee, would there be any support available for them?
I mean, there's ways we can, so by communicating it early, that's why I want to have this available for July. So families that need to be on plans right away, maybe we could break theirs into $50 a month over, but we would work with those
So
individuals.
the support that's available is like a payment or separating the payment out over time. Okay. Yeah, I guess I mean, I second the idea that, you know, issue number one is collection to the extent the fee amount is relevant as well. I mean, I would just love to hear a little more about what the math is like without the increase. What are we covering with the increase?
Wait, say that again.
What are we able to cover with the increase that we wouldn't otherwise be able to cover?
I mean, part of what would just give us more opportunities to help support like the extended day needs of our school. And we utilize pretty much all of our fees right now. I mean, we've talked about like again, I do agree with the collection we have. That's part of this plan. I want this now so I can start in July. When we had over $300,000 collected where we had more money, that was when we did have it at 450. It has been 450 here before. Last year we did it in 400 split in 200. It didn't work. Like that wasn't the right plan. But why we did get that extra money is at one point we were at 450. We did decide to take it down to 400. But I think there may be argument for bringing it back up to 450 to be able to offset just the additional costs. Again, I'm completely flexible to that to the LSC. The biggest goal I have is that we approve fees for next year, so I can start with that communication July 1st. So if as an LSC you're like, let's keep it 400, we keep it at 400. If it's up, we should bump it to 450, then we bump it to 450. I think there's a lot of benefit for the 450. But I also understand that the difficulty of just payments. And so that's why I want to open that up to discussion to the LSC, which direction we go, want to vote on and approve it. So we have these to be able to share.
I think my initial reaction would be is to keep it at 400 and try to implement some of the strategies that we talked about previous in the year to increase the collection of the student fees, where maybe, and I don't know what the percentage of fees that we were able to collect, but like the communication, whatever is, maybe keep it at 400, implement the strategies that we talked about for collecting, see where we are at the end of SY26. And if we're still short or need money, but we implemented it and we did a decent job, effective job of collecting the fees, then maybe we have the conversation of increasing it to 450. That's my initial thought.
I like that idea. My only concern is I don't want to bite off our nose to spite our face and not increase it because we haven't done things right historically. And lose potentially $40,000 because that is a big chunk of money that I don't want to not have.
But I don't
Is-
feel it should be a burden on the families because we haven't had a good communication piece here.
You know, I actually think I'm happy to go wherever the group goes, but I actually think the 450 is probably worth going up to because I think for the families that can pay it, we want to encourage them to pay more, and families that can't pay 400 or 450, you know, are getting kind of the waiver to not feel that pressure. So like a school with financial aid, like some people are paying a high ticket price and other people don't have to pay that. And so I actually think it's worth kind of pushing a little bit because we need money, but with Fidelity, obviously, I definitely agree with Lauda. Like, we got to push on the collection's the more important key. That's where we're leaving them a lot of money on the table. But I don't have a problem with the 450.
I think I know, I think I agree that like we shouldn't penalize the families by increasing, the fee. I mean, $50 is can be a lot for some families. I guess my strategy would be, keep it at 400. Let's roll out our new collection model, whatever it is. If we see that it's sustainable, we see that it works, then increase it to 450, and then the for the following years is maybe if we with the new strategy, whatever it is, to collecting fees, maybe we make up that 30,000, maybe we make up that 40,000, or say, oh, this model works, this is how we should be collecting fees. Maybe now we could raise it to the 450 based on our analysis report. Yeah, that's my thoughts.
And just on that point, what is the new collection model?
Well, everybody will be the fee $400 will be put in everybody's account in Aspen on July 1st. Communication will go out to families that if you have been approved for free or reduced in the past, fill out the financial income information form and do not pay the fee until that is completed. Then by October, because that is when the financial income information form is due, we will review that, enter it, and apply the waivers as applied by the end of October when that form is due. Following that, there will be a follow-up series of anybody that then owes who has not paid, who has not been approved for free or reduced throughout starting in November, because that's when that starts. So then we will start that series of communication to all the families that have not paid. We will also set up payment plans for those that are struggling at that point, who are not. This year we had 400 or whatever the exact number was of students who applied for it, but were not eligible. Those are the families we'll speak specifically to about what does a plan look like for that family. So they came to the 400. What does it look like for 50 over 4 months? So that'll start once all of those forms are due. They're due at the end of October. But I want to start July 1st. One of the conversations that will also go out is once you pay it, you pay it. Like that's, so please pay it as soon as possible. We'll keep sending that communication out. Please submit the form, pay the fees. It will be part of our quick start. But if we start that communication in July, then the matriculation letters that go out to our incoming freshman families will have already started heavily on that already, and won't be a surprise when we're asking for this at quick start. And hopefully we'll have even more funds readily available in August instead of starting that collection in August. So that is our plan to address and engage with all the different groups.
So is the main difference starting 2 months earlier?
It helps a lot. We also, because it's also when people are really looking at communication, the incoming freshman families specifically, they're looking at the matriculation letters, they're looking about line alignment, or they're hearing it, they're excited about it. So they'll see that, and we will then keep referencing them to the parent portal for them to be able to pay, how they sign up through parent portal, but also how they can sign up for some other side benefits, such as attendance and other things. But our push is to get, before school starts, a great majority of this already, so then we can be even more strategic in asking for fees from different groups based on where they're at. So when we have a group that's already put in financial information forms, seeking free and reduced waivers, we have a different group to start paying attention to. Those that are not seeking it, we have a different type of communication of bringing in money.
So it sounds like I'm also hearing a lot more targeted follow-up to different groups, those who asking for a waiver, those that were declined, the payment plan. One of the things that I know came up this year in some of the budget meetings was the just workload on the staff, that they didn't have capacity to be doing this until later in the year, especially with what we think is happening with budget. How will you create capacity for this extra work to happen, to execute the plan?
I mean, that'll be a conversation for us. I mean, honestly, in some ways you have to utilize some of the fees to pay somebody some extra time to do that work. And so we will not have extra people. I mean, you'll hear about that in the budget conversation in just a moment. We'll have fewer people to do work, but it will have to be done by the end of October to get all of that entered. But if we're able to get it in the summer, there are 52-week employees that can start entering it in July. Otherwise, I have to wait till the clerks start 2 weeks before school, and this is not the priority at the beginning of the year. So we have, when you get the form, you have to enter form into Aspen and to calculate whether they are going to get free or reduced waivers. So they have to manually enter each form that is submitted for waivers. And then they have to enter that into the system for every single student. So they have to enter that for 2,158 students or whatever the number they are right now. It just takes time.
That financial form, is that what you're talking about? So that gets manually entered into, there's no.
No.
Mm.
That's why there's a lot. These are labor intensive processes. Aspen is not user friendly. If anybody knows about Aspen, it's not. Who signed up for Parent Portal and signed up for the notifications for attendance and all that. It is not a user friendly system.
Could I propose that we make this an agenda item next meeting, just so we have a clarity around what the process will be? Because I think everyone cares about that here. Going back to the question at hand about fee increases, just 3 quick questions. When was the last fee increase?
It was a decrease.
We decreased. We went from 450.
Understand, when was the last increase?
And when we implemented $400 fees 5 years ago.
I'm just looking real quick
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
now. I just pulled up Jones. Theirs is $450 plus $100 tech plus 50 PE plus 225 athletic teams plus miscellaneous fees. So if you have an
Yep.
instrument rental. So Whitney Young in 2017 was $500. So I can't find where they are
I
now.
appreciate that. That was my next question, was what comparative schools were. I mean, I know Peyton, for example, they just increased it $125 per quarter. I think 600, 650 is the total, but that's, I think, based on understanding what the other selective enrollment schools. I mean, I guess in terms of other large public high schools, do we have any sense of what their student fees are?
It varies. I think the difference is, and this is something that you as an LSC have brought up multiple times, is the one thing we have that's different from some of the other neighborhood schools is we are in Lincoln Park, and we do have families that, I mean, the charge is that Whitney Young and those are raising $1 million, $800,000, and our charge is to do the same, then our fees should be the same, right? Like that's what I'm hearing. So if we say that we can't afford that increase to be on par, then we shouldn't, we're kind of contradicting ourselves. So I think if we expect that we're going to start raising more money to support things, then we should also do the same thing where this is the families that can pay the 400, they can pay 450. I think $50. And this isn't just the end of it. I mean, we are going to be aligning more. There will be a visual and performing arts fee of $50. Like we'll have some of those, depending on the lab it is, there may be an additional 50 fee for that labs. I'm not guaranteeing that we're gonna actually charge that at that point. But AP exams, for example, have been covered by the district. What if the district says, no, we're not funding it? We can't afford that. IB exam fees, again, hopefully they continue, but again, these are all a part of what I have right here. The big fee is 400. Then there's the supplemental fees that go with it. I believe that 450 is manageable, along with these other fees that would be tacked on to it. Miscellaneous fees are different because they're actually a charge. We're not buying the yearbooks for kids. It's $80. It's a fee for a yearbook. So that's on here, but all these things our graduation fee is $100. Our prom fee is $150. Really.
Okay.
So all these things are a part of this document, but what I want to make sure is approved today, and we can tease out the others at a later time, is the overall student fee, because I want to start communicating that out as soon as possible. The second thing I want to be able to also just add to this is just the graduation fee for $100, because with that approved, we can also say that to seniors, look, we need that money right now so we can pay for UIC and get everything set for them. So those are the two things. I do believe 450 is manageable. I think actually it's less than our peers, the selective enrollment peers.
And that's all I was trying to be clear on. So do we know what the comparable student fees are? Or it sounds like we don't.
So if I think of some of the other schools, they have higher amount of free and reduced numbers of students.
They have more.
Yeah. No, I'm not talking about selective enrollment. If you're talking about there aren't there
I'm not sure what's the best
school that I know what to say is our peer school that doesn't have. I can't speak for Kenwood, but I know they ask a ton of money from their community. A ton, way more than we do. And that Kenwood, I would say, is probably very good comparison of how a community rallies to support a community neighborhood high school. They ask for tons of fees, tons
Yeah.
so I think we are actually we're under.
Yeah, I think if people can't afford it, then they're going to be, for the most part, payroll. They're going to fill out the form and they can't pay it.
Yeah.
For those that are in between, if you can afford some, but not all, maybe there's a process that people submit to, like, people do in all kinds of things. You can get, if you make this much money, you pay this much. If you make this, I mean, that's complicated, but, or we try it. I mean, we live in Lincoln Park and we have now many more neighborhood kids who are coming to this school than we did even 5 years ago. So I don't think the expectation of 450 is really out of the realm of what's possible for people. And we need a plan that is laid out for us by the next meeting that's going to say when things are going to be communicated, the dates they're going to be communicated by, how they're going to be communicated.
I would just add, I personally feel very comfortable with the 450, provided that all the options remain open for folks who can't, meet that burden, that they have the application for waiver, and the payment plan that's available. I think, keeping pace with inflation, the fact that the fee used to be 450 and it was then reduced, the fact that budgets are being cut, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we had 746 families pay the $400 fee this year. We had about 496 or whatever is the number that applied for waivers, didn't get them, that were struggling with paying for some things. And we had about 40% of our students who were approved. So in all, actually, we do have quite a bit of people who have actually paid, couldn't afford to pay. And so if we look at this, the idea of where we would be if we had 450, we'd be around 340. That would be, what was the highest we got 3 or 4 years ago? Do you remember what the highest amount was?
I mean, I know that this year, even though we were splitting up the
Yeah.
payments and we had all of that. So this year was really bad in terms of collection. That's why I should
Talking to the microphone. That's why I'm just sort of like, the cost isn't the factor. It's not the amount. It's what we're doing and how we're communicating to our family.
Yep.
Can I?
Yeah, I
propose-
guess, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Just one thing. I know that specifically for the IB program that the cost for the materials are extremely expensive. And I know that we have many of the materials and continue to reuse them, but I know that also some other schools like have higher tuitions for those who are in IB. So maybe if you wanted to do like specific select like raised student fees, that the IB program would be a good one, just because those like generally it's incredibly insane that we have the program that we're in for basically for free, like along with our or student fees. But at many schools I know that have the IB program, they charge more for the students who are in that program. So that could be like a specific selected income.
I mean, and just to that point, like the $225 at Jones for sports, like I think we have a much lower depending on the sport and it's sort of personalized. There could be a lot maybe in fees that we're looking at. This is not the forum for that, but I would say for this overall student fee, we should move to a vote on that. And maybe there's a follow up on some of these other supplementary fees, whether it's IB or visual arts or something like that, supply chain issues, increasing the cost of paint. Like, I don't know.
Well, even
But-
like one of the things like this covers extended day pay and like the personnel for keeping our building open. The cost of that has gone up as well.
Yeah.
So the money in the past isn't going as far. So I mean, my belief is 450, but unless there's a massive like sense, I would like to approve student fees for our students at 450. That's what I would
Okay.
like to put to a vote.
So let me just ask, if that's what you're proposing now, why does it say 400 on the flyer you sent?
I'm sorry. This is what we had as last year, and this is what.
Oh, so you were coming into this meeting planning on 450.
But I wanted to ask and gauge your conversation around increasing it to 450. If you
Oh, I did
say,
not hear
if
that.
you were like, no, let's keep it at 400, then we've got your presentation right there.
Yeah.
But I think we should change that and make it 450. Again, this came out of some conversations that I've had with other individuals, and that's why I'm your counsel. I'm asking for your counsel.
Yeah, shall we put it to a vote and I think regardless, it's probably good to walk out of this meeting with it at 400 or 450. So should we just do a vote, see where the council's at?
Do it again for 400.
Yeah, so I'm in agreement with the 450, but I am also concerned about the execution of trying to
Yeah.
collect all this, and especially since you mentioned that you would have to have somebody enter in the information manually ahead of the clerks. So I don't know if these people have been identified. So this is part of this whole execution plan is the emails, the extra personnel that's going to be used for the data entry and everything. So that component, I think that's my bigger concern than the 450.
And we have that. What I'm saying is we have 52-week employees, clerks who can actually enter this in the summer when we don't have the busyness of the school year. That as soon as we can start getting these forms, they can start rattling them out. So
When do you usually get these papers though? Because I know maybe with the incoming freshmen and stuff like that, like a lot of the times these papers aren't filled out. So when you're talking about July, like who's
Yeah.
filling these out in
So
July?
they're filled out. So when this is approved, so in the past, we've approved this in August. And as soon as it's approved, we start collecting those forms. That's why I'm trying to get it approved now, so I can start collecting these forms.
But people don't send the forms out till school starts.
I can't put this into our account for the forms. I understand, but like collecting,
We're just talking
collecting
about the
these fees,
450 for the
we
fees,
want to
just to approve that,
account
so we
because that's
can.
what's going to get people to turn the forms in.
Wait, what makes you think that that's,
I don't think that's gonna make people fill them out any faster.
people don't need
I-
to know they're there.
I just think,
Right.
Right.
yeah,
Those go out with like when you enroll, like to enroll at Central Park High School, you receive a packet. That form is in that packet. All of our freshmen have received it.
just the freshmen though, correct? They're the ones that fill it out
Right.
before.
So when this
camp.
is approved, now why I'm trying to get this approved today is I can send this communication out like tomorrow. It can have the financial income information form with it. It'll have this saying this will be added to your Aspen. We can start collecting it like right away. But once somebody
I'm-
sees that they have $400 in an account, it does motivate families to complete the form. No, I just need this approved so I can start communication. Yes, yes, yes.
One more quick question.
Yeah, it's just the whole before August, because the freshmen have to like apply and show proof of address and all that stuff.
Agree this is ripe for a vote. Quick question. My assumption is that when this is communicated to families, there will be a very clear explanation as to the rationale for the increase. And why it's needed right now. So I guess I do want to make sure that that is something that is going to be done because I wouldn't support it without that.
Yeah.
I don't think they're,
As long as yeah,
I agree with you, but.
some rationale or the rationale as to why.
I don't
It
think
could be
people
both.
need to know why it went up. I think we just need to increase it by $50. But it's,
Yeah, but
it's-
just here's the
it's
thing.
the domino effect of just being on it when you need to send out reminders in November, like this is the fee, this is what you need to pay or not. But waivers, this is something that needs to be addressed right away. You have August, September, and October to send out, fill out your waiver, fill out your waiver, fill out your waiver. So I would definitely send out that part of communication as well, but like consistently.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the July 1st is the year-end process. It clicks over. We can't enter any waivers right now. We can't start to enter waivers right now. We are still in the SY 25. So when the year-end process, end of June clicks over and July 1st starts, or even a little earlier, then we can start entering waivers. My goal is even before the year-end process starts, this is approved today. So I can send that, hey, it's going to be, and when it clicks over, you will see $450 in your account.
How would you see that?
You go on Aspen.
It's going in
Yeah.
Aspen.
But who's going to go to Aspen?
It's
Like,
under,
I don't go to Aspen.
so it's under Parent Portal. Parent Portal is Aspen.
We're
So
getting so caught in the weeds here.
Yeah.
Do we want to do the 250, the 450 or not?
Yeah.
I'm motioning to
Yeah.
raise it to 450. We can deal with everything else
Seconding that.
after.
Yeah. So that's a motion, but I'm just gonna, my one comment.
We have to second the motion if we don't, if we have to.
Okay. Okay. Is there any discussion? Okay. Okay. I have a comment. No, okay. I have a comment on, after you do two motions, there's a time for a discussion. We've already done it, but I'm going to make a comment. The money we're leaving on the table is because of execution. Okay. So we can do 450, 400, doesn't matter. What matters is the plan. And so I think what I've heard us say is we want to see a plan documented, written with the dates of what's going to be communicated, the audiences, and what the messaging is going to be. And so I would like to add to this motion that we can vote to approve, as well as getting a communication plan from the administration. And I want to ask you, when is a good date for that?
that would be the August, our next meeting, which will be in August.
July.
Unless a meeting is, special meeting is called.
Yeah, or a special meeting. But in July, we'll have our organizational meeting. That's a set agenda. If we'd like to set an additional agenda on top of that, we can. I would have to be after it because it's our organizational meeting.
But can't that be part of the agenda?
It's
No.
no, because you don't even have it. You don't have a chair. You don't have rules. You don't have your cadence. Like there's things that you're setting that set the frame for how this LSC should function from that one meeting that would alter with that. So you can set a second meeting in July. We can set whatever the cadence of our August meeting would be, or from then on, we set the cadence of when our meetings are. We can also then make a meeting earlier, make it a little bit later, just like we did for this June one, because on the 13th, 3 people of our LSC would no longer have been members because school's out. So that's why we bumped this a week. So we can set it to be as early. We can set that first meeting to be as early as we want. We can set a special meeting, and I hear you, let's make that a part of that first agenda. That's fine. But the goal of this is to approve these fees so I can start them.
So I would propose that the incoming LSC after the July meeting, on that same day, that they have a special meeting to address this communication of the fees. I mean, I think, well, we're going to have the majority of the LSC here still, so they could, whoever ends up being the new chair, could lead that. But I think, we should, I agree with Peter. We need to amend the motion to increase the fees to 450, but also have a clear execution plan.
Yeah, at the July, at a special meeting on the same day as whatever the organizational meeting is, because people will be here. That's up to you all, but that's what I would propose, is that these are bundled together as we approve the increase and the fees today, as well as a contingent upon a communication plan being provided at that July.
I don't think that's a good idea because you're now bundling it. So then hypothetically, we can't have that meeting in July. There's not, now you're saying I don't have a fee that was I need just a fees approved so I can start. I will have a presentation.
We're agreeing to approve it today.
Yeah, but you're making the motion with an amendment. You made the amendment in contingent. When you say contingent, that means I can't. So what we just need to do is approve this fee, please. And so after that, I will present to that at the next LSC meeting, official LSC meeting, a communication plan. That'll happen, but I need this to be approved today. You'll have that communication plan. At one of our next LSC meetings, we do need to talk about fees in general. There are a series of fees that aren't associated with this, such as what is prom, such as a homecoming. All of those will be laid out. That's usually at the August meeting. I present all the other fees. I will present a communication plan at the next full LSC meeting, whenever it is. It should not be contingent of this vote. I just need this vote approved so we can start communication.
Okay, well, we do have a special meeting that you're planning for following week.
Yeah, but I don't know if it'll be ready by then, and it may not be that long. So I think that's fair, Dr. Steinmiller. We want to make sure you can be free to that. We're going to take you at your word that you will provide that at the next meeting, whether it's in July or August, but that will be provided. And I think one thing we should do is provide clear expectations for you of what a communication plan should include. And I can take the action on that to give you like a template or something. So we're make sure we're on the same page. What do you think of that? Would that be useful?
Yeah, any suggestions that you want to add to the communication plan, I'd be happy to share that with at the next LSC.
Okay, great. So then I think the motion on the table is to, Amy, do you want to remake the motion?
Motion on the table to approve $450 increase for student fees, or $50 increase to $450 for student fees.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
I,
Okay, great.
All opposed?
There's an opposed, yeah. Okay, thank you.
The second was the graduation fee of $100, so we can start that at the very beginning as well. That's not changing. That's not an increase. I just need it also to be approved for graduation, so we can start contract with UIC for next year.
Okay, just
Same price, not an increase.
Motion to continued $100 graduation fee.
I second that motion.
all
All
those
in
in favor? Okay, great, passes.
All right. Let me just double check. I don't believe, again, like I said, previously, there aren't any transfers, as we don't have any transfers going through. The final and third thing, we do this every year. I want to do the exact same thing so our teams can start on that. We approve 3 things for our sports teams to be able to do. It is a blanket thing for every sports team. Students can buy their jerseys, they can collect donations, and they can sell spiritware. Those 3 things, all sports teams have been able to do all season long. We approve it at once, so they don't have to keep coming to the LSC for the same thing. If it is outside those 3 things, then they would come separately for an approval. But I move that we approve the same thing we did this year for next year, that all teams can do those 3 actions.
I think it's a great idea. Is there a second to that motion? Was that a motion?
It's a motion.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, is there a discussion or comment? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, great. I think that was really helpful this year.
It allows us to start now instead of having to wait until the beginning of August. So that was that was just the conversation about basically this year needs. Yes.
Can we do the same thing for clubs like we did this year?
Yeah. I did not make that part of the motion, so that'd be a separate motion. I moved all clubs are able to do the exact, they probably want to buy jerseys, but maybe they do want to buy jerseys. So they can buy whatever kind of clothing they want. They can collect donations, and then they can sell swag or things to.
Are we calling this student fees too? Because we don't have that on the agenda. I just want to say this is generally all
Fundraising, vote on proposed fundraising activities / budget transfers is right here.
Okay.
So this is a fundraising, these are all fundraising
Okay,
activities.
got it. You're right. You're right.
So I move that clubs be able to do the same thing as the
Is there a
sports.
second?
I second.
All those in favor? Great, passes again.
All right. Based on time, I do want to make sure that we have adequate time to really have a conversation about the budget. That's the big ticket for today. So again, my intent is not to fly through these just for the sake of flying through, but I want to give our time to SY26 budget, which is the major purpose of today's meeting. Attendance policy implementation. Again, we're focusing on some major shifts going into next year. We have met with Kenwood, Taft, as well as, oh my gosh, my brain just left me, the third school, but they do have a communication plan that goes out. It's had mixed reviews of the effectiveness, but there is it is a process of which it's engaging at least families and parents in the communication. Man, that's really driving me crazy. My brain just went out on it. But anyway, so I'm working with those principals as we're talking through what that process would be for regular communication, but also the plan at Quick Start of how we're going to get parents to sign up in Parent Portal to get those notifications and literally walk them through the process so that all freshmen coming in and our other upper class families will know how to, 1, access Parent Portal, 2, get the notifications for attendance, 3, get the notifications for academics and setting those thresholds. Those are some updates to where we're going to continue to focus on for next year. We're also building a committee around it so we can get other stakeholders' involvement in our attendance processes. Yes.
So nothing formulated yet on what the policies will be, but there'll be a task force to discuss.
Yeah,
So
engaging
what's
our,
the deadline for the task force?
What's the deadline for the task force to come up with a policy that can be instituted for SY 26?
so culture, over the course of summer, we do have 52-week employees. One is our director of culture and climate. He's built a culture and climate team. One of the groups that's coming off of that is focusing on attendance and attendance practices, so that we can make sure that we have these processes in place. The request from, again, the attendance department is to actually get a miscellaneous person in to help with some of the paperwork part of it, which does slow down some things. That'll be something that'll come out of some of the recommendations, but to lay out those processes, that's some major part of the heavy work of this summer, that will take place once school lets out, to make some revisions and address that within that team.
Well, Laura,
Is
do you have a follow-up?
Kenwood or
Sorry.
Yeah, so this summer they'll be discussing. So that means by the fall, when school starts, we will have a policy that we will discuss during the LSC meeting.
Absolutely. Yeah, it'll be the same thing we'll be presenting again, engaging our staff with.
I'm going to hold you to that because we need to have something formal for us to review on that, first meeting. So we know what we're communicating to our families and to our students. So there's a expectation.
All good.
And that we don't start the school year with, a policy and then 2 months into it, don't follow through on it. Right. It just, and in comparison to, I was over at Roberto Clemente and they have it on their school board, what the tardy policy is. First tardy, restorative conversation with student. Second tardy, parent conference required. Third tardy, detention assigned. Subsequent tardies, detention for every third tardy. Detention details, attendance matters. They have it clearly communicated and all the students know and all the parents know. And I really feel like it's super important to involve the parents in this because sometimes the parents are out of the loop and they are there to help out as much as possible with what's happening in the school. So I just looked at that policy and I was like, that written and that's stamped and everyone follows by that policy.
But they also have about a 30% attendance. They have a very, very, very low attendance rate and high. So I hear you and I'm not trying to, and I get that. We need to do what's right. They're just very strict. Students aren't going there to school. They're skipping school on a regular basis. I know the principal there. So those policies do have an impact and I understand it, but we have to address our need for Lincoln Park High School. And I get Clemente has a very strict structure for both cell phones and this and a bunch of other things. It doesn't mean it's necessarily leading into the outcomes that we want. We want to have where our students are in class and learning. And so I hear the charge at the August, I almost said October, at the August LSC meeting. It's the beginning of the school year. It's before school starts when we usually traditionally have our LSC meeting. I'll be able to report out on the things as we're looking into the SY 26 year.
I did have a question as far as Kenwood and Taft. Do they have open campus lunch at all?
I can't. I don't know the answer to that. I can ask though. I want to say Taft might, but I really don't know.
I don't think Taft does either. But
Okay. I'll follow. That's a good question. I'll follow up.
Does that help at all with policy and whatnot? Because I just know that we do, and I believe both those schools don't.
I'll follow up with principals. I saw that so I see the discipline and student behavior policy implementation. That's our student code of conduct. Maybe I'm missing something.
Well, there was the email we got from a parent a couple weeks ago about how her child was not attending class for a month and was like, what's happening? And then you had a meeting with this parent. And so the broader attendance policy, just wondering, it seems like there's some students falling through the cracks and more. I'm just wondering, I think everything we just talked about is tied to this.
Okay. Cell phone policy. We have the same policy that's going in place. I will say in the last 2 weeks, and just popping into classrooms, there have been some breakdowns. So we have to, as we finish out a year, make sure that we're finishing out strong. We will one up this going into next year. It's something I've already talked with the director of culture and climate about, the progress monitoring and expectation setting and revisiting it on a regular basis with our teachers and staff about said expectations. But these are the 2 to 3 things that we expect of every class and of every teacher. and that it'll be monitored. The Director of Culture and Climate will be a support for the teachers for the implementation of it. Obviously, if those needs aren't being met, this is something I've heard from you as an LSC and some conversations with other individuals too, is the expectation has to be brought up over and over again and made sure it's met by all of our teachers in the classroom to implement it so that it doesn't create a negative environment for other teachers who are implementing the process that Mr. This or Mrs. That are not doing it. Why do I have to do it in this room? Overall, it was extreme success this year, the cell phone policy. It increased engagement in the student experience school-wide. And actually several schools are modeling what we did at their schools. And even the district was asking, how did you get to this point? And honestly, part of it was spending an entire quarter piloting it, engaging our teachers in the process that led to this success. So I think there's great opportunities for continuation and improvement, but I need 100% of our teachers doing it. And that is that is not a suggestion. It is an expectation and it has to be implemented school-wide.
Yeah, so that was one of the big things was with both the attendance and the cell phone policy with the execution towards the end of the school year, second half of the school year. It seemed like the process broke down. We had some clear expectations at the beginning of the school year. And then later on, processes started not to be followed. So I think it's the consistent execution throughout the entire school year, not just at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I actually disagree with the second half part. Going into classrooms, it was implemented. I would say at the very end, as students are getting, like the seniors have had there have been some of those breakdowns, but that is a policy that has been implemented with fidelity consistently throughout the year until the end of the year, students being students. But again, it's something that we reiterate. It's an expectation. There shouldn't be any breakdowns or difference from it. I can tell you that less than a handful of people who I've had to kind of address on this. So more across the board, we've had implementation that's been extremely successful. We've already talked about student fees, LSC vacancy. We do have, I believe, three. It's not my topic up here, so I'm not both. There are 3 people, I believe, who are interested in filling the 3 vacancies that we would have. Timeline for appointing the candidates. I think we have the 3 people. I don't know if we actually have a vote on here, if we have to wait until they're actually vacated to approve. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, they have to be vacated first.
Okay. So, I mean, if we want to have them be a part of the July meeting, organizational meeting, that means we, meaning the remaining members, need to meet separately to vote them in. And that wouldn't, if we want to have that in time, because they still have to go to I believe to the board. They don't.
Not the parent rep.
For the parent one, that's just the teacher
do.
ones. The teachers will be good by the July meeting.
Yeah.
But to avoid any issues, like that will probably be the week after school lets out on the 13th. I mean, that Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday would be ideal for us to come together, quickly vote to get the 3 people, even if that's the topic, just the vote.
Yeah, we're in the process of trying to find a date at the end of next week, like Thursday or Friday, and I think we're pretty close to finding it, just for like a 10-minute meeting to vote them in.
Okay.
But
cool.
Just so thank you for that.
Help coordinate, that'd be awesome.
Yep.
Moving on to SY26. So this is really about the CIWP. So our budget is tied to our CIWP. CIWP is tied to our budget. We've been moving forward with those goals. You had Mr. Young presented about the post-secondary as we've been engaging with our curriculum and instruction. Those have all been I give you updates within the principal's report. You can actually link onto some of those topics. We are continuing. We have met the goals that are established in it. In the future, if any, like going into next year, if any LSC members want to be more involved, and I would say even with our 3 new members joining us, there are 3 priorities. If anybody wants to be a part of some of those milestones that we engage with, we can engage with that further. But I really do want to get to the big part, because student fees is on here again. We've already approved it. We're good for 450. The budget overview and summary for voting. I presented and I'm going to share this part of the screen first. That's my email. Hold on. You don't want to see my. Just a second. You can see it for a second. 2, right? All right, cool. I've made this presentation multiple times and I've shared it to you, but these are the overall dates. There's actually one missing. I presented to the LSC subcommittee when we originally received the budget. I presented to the staff in the PPLC on May 27th. I had a community presentation on May 29th. Actually, on the 2nd of June, I also met with the PPLC because there were shifts of things that I was working on over the course of receiving the budget, which was a very fast turnaround. I had a community presentation on the 3rd, which I recorded and I shared with all of you with the expectation to kind of review it. So I don't have to do that all over again. However, if you as an LSC would like me to do the presentation all over again, please let me know. I don't think
I watched it. Thank you.
Okay.
Good. That was
Right.
good way to
Thank
do
you.
it.
All right, cool. I will give some just the highlights and big points on this. When we first received the budget, I talked about the foundational positions in the presentation, the major shifts that have happened from it, the allocation. The big conversation is the foundational positions, which are different from the past process, which was student-based budgeting. And again, for those who will be on the LSC after July 1st, I need you to keep that word in your brain. If you hear the word student-based budgeting, that we're shifting back to student-based budgeting, expect that we will not have enough funding for our teachers. So quoted positions, having foundational positions, it does not matter the cost of the positions. An example of why this is so important is we have a foundational quota position, for example, that was 116, that's now $135,000. As a quota position with the benefits that we also have to pay, that's $185,000 position. Quota, we don't have to worry about paying for it. When it becomes student-based budgeting, we have to pay every dollar of it out of a total budget, which means our money does not go as far. And that means it will have a drastic impact on Lincoln Park High School because we have amazing teachers, but a lot of our teachers have, our tenured teachers have a lot of great experience, and that does impact what that salary looks like. We will not be able to sustain a student-based budget if things shift. So please just note that. We are in a quota system right now, meaning you get an allotment and it doesn't matter the cost of the position. When I received the budget, it included in that foundational positions, the principal, one assistant principal, one clerk, and then one counselor per 500 students, so 5 counselors, and then 103 teachers. That's every 21 students, you get a teacher. But I need to emphasize, and I know it's in the presentation, you heard it, but this is the one slide I really want to emphasize is some people have said, well, then you should have class size of 21. That's not how that works. Teachers teach 5 classes, students take 7. So that ratio doesn't work out. It basically puts us to the threshold of this new ceiling in the contract, and it is a concrete ceiling. It is not what it has been in the past. There was gray area, there was things that created all these different things. 28 could actually become 31-ish before this kicked in. That is not how this is set up. General classes are 28, and then visual performing arts and physical health, education, wellness classes are 31. They used to be 40, now they're 31. That's made that very difficult. So at the allotment of 103, I know we needed 110 teachers based on our programming needs. So that's our quota system. The other then was the $22,500,000 that was needs-based funding. That pays for everybody who's basically non-teaching staff or additional staff members or teachers you need to offset that. So for me to be able to add 6 positions, it was nearly $700,000. So you're taking a huge chunk of what that needs-based funding was. I was going to have to cut up to 7 non-instructional positions. That could range from a counselor to an interventionist to our extracurricular director, you name it, right? So it was potentially up to 7 positions and not being able to open up 2 of the 2 wellness positions that I know I needed to make sure that we can meet the 31 expectation. I was very direct at the original budget with 103. I would not be able to open up 2 PE positions. I was very direct with the entire department when I spoke to them that is the department that would have that impact. They understood it. And I appreciate that team just understanding the circumstance of what that was going to be. But if I direct it in one area, it doesn't distribute the pain ultimately everywhere. And they were great in their just understanding of what we were going through. Last Wednesday, I presented this to the network, to the chief, about where our budget was at. And I had all the positions that I needed. I had already made 3 cuts to the budget and said, here are my options. Without funding 3 different positions, I either have to cut 4 more positions or not open 2 and then still cut additional positions. By Friday, I was able to get 3 more positions from the district. To be clear, though, that does not mean on the 20th day they're going to give us an extra allocation of funding. So just as a heads up, unless we have an absorbent number of students, and that's a whole different problem. So we now have an allotment of 106 positions. This is very important because what that has led to is ultimately I only have to cut 3 non-instructional positions at a school. I'm not saying that's good. But that's minimizing the impact of what our budget is. Just understand we've had an increase of pay for every member of the learning community across the board with this new contract. And again, as one new contract got an increase of 4% COLA, everybody did. And so everything has gone up in value and cost. So just understand those are things that we also had to offset. I have distributed the impact of those 3 positions to different areas to try to distribute that to maintain the program, our different programs outside of instruction. But the reason why we have to do this is our number 1 priority is curriculum instruction. And if I don't have 110 teachers, I will have oversized classes. I will not be able to have as effective of meeting those priorities that are established in that CIWP. I've made that number 1 and made that the number 1 above all things else. With the 3 non-instructional positions, I've had to reflect on how would that have an impact on SEL, post-secondary, and all the other things. I did ask whether I'm able to communicate the specific positions that are being cut. I am not allowed to do so. In fact, probably in some of my previous sessions, I may have over-communicated, and I apologize for any over-communication that was done at previous sessions. I know that puts you as an LSC in a precarious situation of trying to support CIWP, not knowing what positions are being cut. But just understand that that is what has to be done. I think we still have quorum because as at this point, I'm counting as quorum too. And so as in balancing the budget, it is balanced there. It's where it needs to be. I kid you not, everything goes to salary and benefits except $2,130. That is it.
You know what last year, how much we had left over?
I was like $34,000. But I put it into an open fund that we would have to approve where it goes. This time I put it into an office supplies so that if we need to buy paper July 1st, we can buy it if the fees weren't passed or something. That was my plan, to just put in office things that I know we would need.
Great.
I had a question. Can you tell me what the enrollment numbers were for the EL students? Like
179.
And how has this been increasing year to year?
2 years ago, we're at 89. Last year, we're at like 134. We're now at 179. So we've had an incremental increase every single year for last. So this is like a 3rd year in a row.
What about the DL students?
Our diverse learning students, that was also in the presentation. We've gone from 146 to 151. This is one thing that we aren't voting on anything related to our diverse learning supports. In fact, as soon as we do this, I don't know when that there's an appeal process that will start for schools. I know we need more allocations of diverse learning teachers. And when I said LBS 1, that's learning behavior specialist. It's a position to be able to provide the supports in classes. We were cut 3 positions. Just know that teachers shouldn't be impacted from this department because we have increased in our allotment of case managers. So that there will be one LBS 1 position that I'm moving a person into case management. So nobody at our school will be impacted, meaning lose their job, fired. This is something that has to be appealed for. I know we need 3 more teaching positions for our diverse learners. It is just not functional. I will keep you updated at our next meeting too of what that status is. I don't know when that appeal process will start, but it's something that is the one variable. Like we're not voting on this. We're not approving this. We're approving actually the allotment of the $2,500,000 aligned with our CIWP. But again, these were all the things that were in the presentation that I shared with you. But the big thing I wanted to make sure to emphasize, like this is the overall overview. I know that we'll continue with our programs, the sustainability of them. Our IB program has the supports it needs. Our visual performing arts has the program it needs. I believe in our the SEL team, we have a strong infrastructure to make sure, and we're making adjustments to that implementation previous to the things I was referencing, from discipline to attendance and the different policies. I know we have the leaders and people in place to be able to move forward regardless in those areas. Would I love to have those 3 positions? Yes. Do I have any option? No. This isn't a if-then situation for me to provide to you. It is the one and only situation. And those 3 positions are also intentional on the cost of the positions, because I could maybe close positions with lower pay, but then I would have to close more of them to be able to get the same needs. So this is able to minimize it strategically to 3 positions and distribute the impact of those positions into different areas. Yep.
So the budget relies heavily on the fees, the student fees and the rentals. But we already know that that's not sufficient or consistent. And then we also have an increase in you also stated we have an increase in the use of the substitute teachers because of the contract also increased the number of days off that the teachers have as well.
Correct.
So we also need to offset that.
Yeah, and that's a conversation that I'm actually having district wide, is that if you offer 16 days off to a teacher but aren't funding all 16, that has and the big curveball were the 3 religious holidays that expired at the end of the year. So it was like 3 additional benefit days that we just didn't have additional funding for. So it really made that very difficult district wide. But again, those are automatically populated into our budget. That's part of the salary and benefits. The benefits include their paid days off. Again, it doesn't pay for 16 days off. And so we have to offset that. In the end, you end up with negatives that you're supposed to be able to offset.
Do you know roughly how many days it does cover?
7.
So we're having to make up the difference of 9 PTO days?
And 1 sick day. So they're going to use all 6 for sure. And if they're sick twice, we have to pay for it. I mean, we cover 1 day with what's the budget and 1 day that's not. We have a negative. And I don't.
Which we hope that we hope that they will cover, right?
Yeah.
In fact, well.
And then you're saying we're cutting 3 positions, but we're also saying that we're cutting 3 essentially experienced positions, because we're more than likely, they're higher cost to minimize the impact. And so therefore, we're kind of inherently saying that we're cutting the more experienced positions. Is that right?
That is not correct. They're 3 strategic positions to offset the budget. So I think it's not the right. That was not. They're the right.
I don't think you can say even.
Yeah, I think it's a little. There weren't 2 positions. Honestly, if there were 2 positions and it would have made sense, I would have tried to do that. But there wasn't. There's 3 positions. But yeah, that wasn't necessarily if they were like $20,000, that wouldn't have worked. I mean, but the positions but it wasn't because they were more tenure. That wasn't the variable. It was offsetting the costs and ensuring that each of our other areas had the supports they need. One other thing I just want to emphasize, the PPLC made some recommendations too about reflecting on release times. And that is being implemented to be able to offset the sections that were needed in some departments. And so there are going to be some shifts in how we engage instructional leadership and department leadership. Again, the contract has very explicit language about what a role of a chair would be. And so we'll make sure that we're aligned. We're going to align with that for the role of what a department chair structure could be. But ILT, I want to make sure that we have our CIWP priority 1 implemented with fidelity. I'll make sure we have those resources for it. It just doesn't mean it's going to be done through release periods. the important part I'm going to emphasize is we have the classes cut, enough teachers to cover the classes our students need and keep below the threshold of 2831. Again, I'm saying that now so you know exactly what that number is. There are going to be a handful of instances in which the teachers have asked to have the increase above it. So if somebody comes and says, hey, yeah, but our band is at 50 because the band doesn't want to split their band into two bands. They need everybody in the same room. And so we'll have two teachers in the class, but it still means the average may be over 31, but that's a request to keep their program functioning. Or if it's hey, based on our numbers of a diploma, it's the second year of a program, there's going to be 29 kids in the class. I'm not going to go to a student and say, I'm sorry, kid, you're 29. Like, it's going to be 28. You can't be in the diploma program anymore. We're not doing that. But I will engage in the PPC and follow the appropriate processes that are associated with that. PPC is a union group, and we will make those adjustments accordingly, caveats of the needs of those programs. That is the asterisk that's in the contract. But we know how many sections of classes we need. We have enough teachers to cover them, and that is our big takeaway. Yep.
Yeah, that was going to be the following. You can't touch on it with the PPLC for context. Department chairs right now have a release period, so instead of teaching 5 classes, they teach 4. And so when the PPLC was discussing, well, how might this impact the budget? Where if department chairs were teaching 5 classes, could we save money? Could we, maybe not need to hire a teacher? And so that was presented to Dr. Steinmiller when he came to our meetings. And so he's obviously taken that into consideration and kind of thought through that going into next year.
So we're saying that we're going to be hiring 4 positions, right? Or we get 106 with the upgrade, and then we need 4 more. Does that mean that we're hiring somebody else, or are these are already staff that we already have
So
here?
last year we did use some needs-based funding to pay for positions. We need more to get up to that 110 threshold. So for example, we will be hiring 2 new PE teachers. We will, and it's more complicated than that because people have multiple endorsements. And so there may be somebody who's actively in a position that fits a need. And so actually I need to open up a position that you wouldn't think I need to open because you think we have enough people for it. That's what happens when you have like nearly 130 teachers and staff. And again, when I say 130 teachers, we have 230 staff members, but basically about 138 teachers. That includes counselors, LBS1 teachers, and other people. They all have endorsements and they can fit in different positions. So just because you see me posting, you're going to see these positions posted. You're going to see 2 PE positions. You're going to see 2 math positions posted. I anticipate a 3rd, but that's for a different reason. You're going to see we have some vacancies, but those are, you'll see 3 math and you're going to see 2 PE positions posted. So it's 5, but it's for me trying to balance maybe moving people into different positions, doing different things, so that it's easier to open those up than something else. So I could talk about that probably for another hour. But
What about those vacancies? I mean, 2 years ago, we didn't have enough math teachers and we had students who were in classrooms without teachers. Are we facing that situation again next year?
no, we're not.
What about a testing coordinator? Did we figure out how that was going to play out? Are the APs handling testing?
This year we distributed the role of testing to our assistant principals and had partnerships with our counselors and others, and it went very well. Besides the things we couldn't control.
I don't know. So, I mean, I appreciate that the network gave us, the network or the district, gave us some additional positions, but, we're still begging, here for positions, and, we're already walking in with, at the beginning of the school year, also requesting more positions because, what we're really allotted is not enough. So, and, we really don't have much of a flexibility in the budget. So,
And it's still a little unclear. If we're hiring, if we have 2, maybe 3 math teachers, how are we making sure that those classes have teachers?
So we did our student programming. Our teachers met with our students for recommendations. They selected classes for the fall. Our counselors met with all the students. So all of the requests have been loaded into Aspen. So we know how many sections and classes that we need for every single class. I can actually show you to help explain this.
But is the question, just to clarify, you're asking, how do we think we're going to get matched teachers by August?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, we have interviews for math right now, and we've extended an offer to one. Hopefully to extend an offer tomorrow.
Okay. So I think that's the question, is how do you,
we're posting, we're engaged. I've already been collecting resumes. I've been going to job fairs. I mean, I've gone Loyola University had their student teacher recruitment fair for high schools. I was the only one from Chicago Public Schools. I have a stack of resumes. I'm the only one from Chicago Public Schools trying to pull people in. I set up interviews based off of that. We're hiring a math teacher coming out of that. And we have an INS position available too, but we're starting. Like we have
I think
resumes,
aggressive
we're
recruiting
interviewing.
is the
Yeah,
answer.
if you're filling the positions,
It's happening.
yeah, we're doing. Lane and I are sort of in a competition with each other because we seem to be chasing a lot of the same people. But that's what we're focusing. Was that what you were asking? Is how are we actually going to fill
Yes.
the So you will see right now, like I'm trying to post positions, trying to get the district to post positions that I can. I'm already interviewing. Once I can actively fill, the district allows me to hit that little button, we will. That is dependent. Obviously, I mean, part of the process, we have to get this budget approved. As soon as this is approved, some of those positions I'm going to be posting. Once this is approved, I can start posting those positions. And so that's like, I'm ready to roll. I have ready to enter it in. It's if you ever look on Taleo or the hiring CPS careers, you'll see tentative position as how they have it described, posted. And so as soon as our budget is approved, I'm posting them right away. But like I said, I already have resumes, even though we don't have posters.
No,
Okay.
I'm just making sure.
okay. So other questions on the budget? I think we're getting close to being able to vote, but
Yeah,
are
so
there
I
other
think,
questions?
I appreciate, you put a lot of effort into trying to balance the budget, but I think all of these grayness, with the 3 positions that we're gonna have to cut and then probably refill, all of this, I'm not comfortable with approving the budget and, keep asking for these little, give me a little bit more money, I think we should be sending a message to CPS, just like other schools, that, we need more money just from the beginning rather than going through this multiple appeal process.
I hear you. I will say we've been given 3 extra positions. I do not want to mess with this. I want to get our budget approved. There's a reality that in July we have to do this all over. There'll be a whole new process in July. That's why I give you a heads up. If you hear the word student-based budgeting in July, we're in deep water. In the past, several years ago, when I started in administration, we wouldn't get our budgets until August, and you were doing all of this and trying to hire after school had already started. That's a possibility. Who knows what's going to happen? All I know is what is before us, and I want to solidify that as quickly as possible. I would encourage, because we got those extra 3 positions, I don't want to mess with that. We actually did get some support, and we got it very, very quickly. And I understand the ambiguity of the 3 positions. And I do understand, as an LSC, that does impede like wanting to give feedback towards those positions and how they're impacting our CIWP. I really do hear you on that. But with the addition of 3 positions, I think it's very important to get this approved. I don't know how the process will go after if you don't. I don't know if it just gets moved on forward, but I think for getting the support for 3 positions, I would like to get this approved so we can move forward.
Dr. Semler, why would they go back to student-based budgets in July? Like, what's the, like, it seems like it sounds like it's an actual like legit possibility. Like, from what you're hearing, why would they do that? What's the rationale?
It passes the buck to somebody else to take the blame for not being able to staff a school. And that blame goes to the principal. Because then they say, here's your $14, $15 million, because they'll still have LBS 1 that are quoted. And they're going to say, make do with $14, $15 million. I will not be able to make do because you're now paying for all non-diverse learning teaching staff. And
We have a
talking
lot of
about
veterans.
we're at $25 million. Like, and I could look back and actually tell you what the cost was of our positions. I'll be happy to do that. If they go to student-based budgeting, that's something I'll come back with for those who are returning on the LSC. And I'll say it's 25 million now. It was 21 million then. Like, what do I do with $4 million? I can't do anything with $4 million more. And I easily could see that. Don't quote me that exact number, but I could see in the last 2 to 3 years a $4 million increase in the cost of our salary and benefits that blink.
Okay. I will say, just in terms of the budget though, Dr. Steinmiller did go around to all the departments. I mean, he shared the spreadsheet with us last meeting or 2 meetings ago. He has been very transparent. You know, I can't speak to other departments, but he did come in the wellness department, very transparent on what may or may not happen. So he has been transparent, and yes, we're going to have to unfortunately cut positions. And so I think, me personally, I would feel comfortable moving forward with it. Just in the past, since he's got the budget, he's had 4 budget presentations, or, you know, whatever it is now. And I do feel like it has been very transparent to all stakeholders with the budget.
And I'm going to second that. I really appreciate Dr. Steinmiller, the time that you took to have all of those budget sessions, giving everybody the opportunity to listen, not just once, twice, 3 times, and recording it so you can review it again. So kudos to you. That's the communication that I would like to see on other things. So I appreciate that effort. So I'd like to second the motion to approve the budget.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the budget as presented by Dr. Steinmiller? Okay. All those opposed? Okay. The budget passes. Congratulations.
Thank y'all.
Yeah. I do think you did a great job on socializing it and giving people time to absorb. Great. Okay. So does that complete principal's report?
Yep.
Okay. Committee reports, facilities, I think.
Yeah, we met on Monday.
Toscano? I don't know.
Oh, that's me. We didn't met. I met our new building manager, which we have a brand new building manager for Lincoln Park High School. I was able to meet, went over our tracker. Ms. Hurd was there, engaged with the leader of for like custodial facility supports. Our big things. On the 13th, we will have that dumpster. So for the athletics, being able to get rid of supplies and things. I know Ms. Morris brought that up. We'll have the dumpster on the 13th. July 4th, we'll start redoing our floor. Again, that's a partnership with our boosters and Friends of to really start a process for revitalizing our gym, but also getting it in compliance for athletics in a year. The other just kind of the people who are in facilities at the district level, while they are still there, are really they're trying to push some of our needs through while they're still there. And then I'll give you an update about where we go from there. Some of the big things with facilities, we know that, again, at the beginning of the year, there was a massive rodent issue that was caused by Oz Park that hasn't been an issue for months. We have been able to address that quickly. The process and pieces we put into place have addressed it, which is great. So I feel good about the actions and quickly responding to that the best of our ability through a very complex situation, because most of it required funding from the district to be able to do that work. And we've made a lot of facility adjustments to our freshman building that required the district. I couldn't even tell you how much probably that costs to get some of that stuff done. So we've been able to adjust and move through some of these other things going on. Other major facilities, we are fully staffed for our custodial team. We have been all year. Well, not all year, but at least through the second semester, it's been fully staffed. Again, leadership of both our engineering team and our custodial team have really made sure that we're on point with different things, and just keeping and maintaining our building regardless of the supports we get externally. And again, just there's about a $4 billion facility gap in the infrastructure for Chicago Public Schools. And the goal is to have the first floor of schools to be functional of all schools. That's not where we're at, but that doesn't mean we don't keep pushing to make sure that we're able to meet the needs of our school and our building. But those are the things that we are up against. From a facility standpoint, I'm continuing to partner with our 8 elementary schools. I did just meet the new principal at Little Lincoln. I think actually it was right before a meeting that I had, and really started talking about how we can continue like our supports, but also facility usage, because they have a lot of limitations themselves, and how do we partner to do a lot of that work. This is something that I should have probably done in the principal's report. So I'm gonna interject it and make it a part of facilities just for fun. In the past, we have partnered with our elementary schools to offer acceleration. We cannot do that without additional funding from those elementary schools. We have enough sections. We have enough sections to meet the needs of our students. We cannot offset that cost at this point. That's $40,000 worth of overtime for us to do it. So we're coordinating with those principals to talk about what does it look like for them to be able to help offset that in partnership. I believe they have, we talk about this, how elementary schools have some of these funds. This is something that if they want, then we're going to really need their partnership to pay for it. And then we'll have to pay an overtime to our teachers to do it. I'm more than open and ready to go. But I just know I have to make sure that our 2,158 students have all the classes they need and they aren't oversized. So that was a conversation that we started today. And we'll continue to work through with those elementary schools. Yeah.
Just to clarify, when you say acceleration, these are 8th graders like coming for math and stuff like that?
Yeah, come and take
Okay.
geometry.
Okay.
So we have geometry endorsed teachers. They usually don't, because they don't offer geometry
Right.
at elementary level.
Okay.
And also with that cost, just to be honest with it, a lot of the students that do come in go to selective enrollment. So we aren't necessarily seeing the outcome from that either. So if it's a benefit to a student who's going to selective enrollment, we also should have we shouldn't take this financial hit for it. But I do know the importance that is for our 8 elementary schools, because that's what helps them not have students go into academic programs and stay in our feeder elementary schools. I'm ready to support, but we are just going to have to engage those feeder elementary schools more in some the financial responsibility and burden is going to have to go back to those schools. I'm ready to support. I know that's not a facility standpoint, but actually in some way it is of us being able to fill our classes appropriately. I think it's about, we would offer math and English. And so I think for math, for the one, from one school would be about 8 in math, 8 in English, but that's like one school. So we would have about a classroom worth of students between the schools. Yeah, OATH costs anywhere from $16,000 to $20,000.
I think it's a great idea to start the conversation with the elementary schools, and I think they should be encouraged to talk with the parents of those kids, because I think many of those parents would be happy to pay a little extra for their kids to do this.
But I just want you to know that conversation is going on, because it is a shift, and I didn't bring it up in the principal.
Yeah, no problem.
Sorry
Thank
about
you. Okay. Great. Comments or questions on facilities? Okay. Student voice.
I don't know if Jiley had a meeting this week, because no longer a student. But the week before was just kind of our thanks for being here, goodbye, but I think everybody's pretty happy. Everybody's really excited for summer, so I think that's what everyone's kind of holding on to right now. Extremely sad about the weather not being warmer yet, but I don't really have much to report. That's kind of just it's kind of just yay, end of the year.
Well, you did an awesome job at graduation. I just want to say that.
Thank you.
Great.
A quick question for the students. I know you were looking into the lockers and things like that. Was there any additional progress made on that, or anything to report on that?
So that was the plan for that was, I don't think it ended up, well, it didn't end up happening, of course, but I think if it was going to if it were going to happen, one, we understood that we wouldn't be able to raise that amount of money this year. So the fundraiser would last for multiple years. But I think we also talked about sort of it being not the student's responsibility, because the safety of the items of the students shouldn't be a small group of students trying to keep everyone else's stuff safe. But I think everyone had brainstormed ideas, but for different fundraisers that we could do, but just the outcome for what the plans were would not have like matched, and it just wouldn't, it wasn't worth it to the small group of students compared to the entire student body.
So would that something that goes to facilities, the question around the lockers, or I don't know?
And these are the things we brought up. I mean, they did do some paint, like there's plans like painting and additional things.
Okay.
But going back to like the priorities of, we've been communicating, like use your hall lockers, which are solid. They're old junky lockers. You can pry them open.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
All right.
it is not a district priority.
I think that that's a really good point though, also that while the gym lockers may be like falling apart, you also have a locker somewhere else in the school. Like not everyone signs up for one, but if you know you're going to be taking gym, because I know not all students take physical education, but if you know that you're going to be in the gym and you need somewhere to leave your backpack and you don't feel comfortable with the gym locker room, use your other locker. Like that, it's literally in the wall.
Mm-hmm.
They like, I don't know, it's in the wall. But like,
Okay.
just kind of learn how to open the lock.
All right. So Alicia, I guess that's
We have like data on like all the locker, like how many there are, the broken ones, the ones that would need to be replaced, but just the action in terms of like return would not have been like beneficial, I don't think.
Okay. So it's not something that you guys are going to keep, or, the next
I don't
LSC
know.
is going to keep.
I mean,
or
I can
students-
ask Jiley if she like would like to keep it up. But and I can like write back, or I can just ask her to follow up on it.
yeah, because Jaya Lee will be coming back and there'll be 2 new students. So
Yeah.
okay, that might be something to pick up
Mhm.
there. Okay. Great.
Do we have new
Thank you.
student reps?
Yeah. London. No, the other one. I've met London a few times, but I hadn't met the other.
Yes.
New rep.
We did the elections. The district had it was supposed to be by May 16th. We were well in advance of the due date of the district. We had our 3 members elected, and they're excited. It was a great competition between quite a few students, and 3 students stood out. So.
Are the forms usually just one person that you vote for? Because there's 3 spots. I remember last year that you could vote for 3 people.
Yeah, that was the guidance from the district.
Okay.
Oh, you can only vote for one, so it changes here. Okay.
Interesting.
Okay.
I think that helps though, honestly. I feel like it would definitely help get the highest 3 people.
Cool. Thank you very much. PPLC and PPC.
The past couple of weeks, Dr. Steinmiller has come to our meetings. Has been primarily budget focused. So kind of just the dialogue we had earlier. We were talking about department chair release time, how that would affect the budget. We were talking about our last meeting. We were talking about ESL students and trying to make sure that they're in the correct programming, and that we have the budget to support that. And Dr. Steinmiller was also at that meeting as well. So yeah, the past few meetings have been kind of strictly budget focused, and we tied it into Dr. Steinmiller's report with the budget.
Okay. Great. Community relations. Nothing to report. Okay. Just I'm curious, when you all meet, is it mostly you and Zach and Laura? Are there other people that attend those, like Denise? Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Principal evaluation, we're going to be moving into a discussion of that shortly. So we've been having a good process so far on that. I don't have much more to update. I guess I would just, so I think we're about ready for closed session. We could do a public comment now, but I don't see anyone for that. Yeah, Alicia?
So I apologize. I got here late. So I don't know if there was any conversation about the prom. I thought the prom was a huge success. However, the one thing that I didn't like is that that it was split into the 3 floors. There were essentially 4 floors, which totally there were students that didn't like this. Hearing back from some of the students about just being so fragmented and not enough space for the dance floor kind of thing. So it did leave a good feeling about redoing something like this in such tight space. Just because each floor was so small. So just a comment.
Yeah, it's interesting because I heard the opposite of that. I heard that the students loved the fact that they were sort of trapped on a boat because it really forced the kids to be together, and that they otherwise would have, kids come, they go, they come for 20 minutes, they leave, and they really appreciated. I don't know, Kaki left, but
I got some of what Alicia was saying,
Yes.
so that since it was only 3 hours, that they felt like it was over so fast, and there was no backdrops or something where they can take pictures before going on the boat. It wasn't like there was no decoration for them to like do pictures and whatnot. And
Yeah, they did
It would
have
have been
a
nice
they
if the
did have a
pier would
little
have stayed
photo
open.
booth. But yeah, sometimes there was quite a line
on the boat, right?
in the boat
Um,
boat.
like before you go on the boat,
Yeah.
like the off. the
Yeah,
boat,
there wasn't anything
like
before
great
going on.
pictures for like parents and whatnot. I guess there was a want to pre-take pictures because some parents ended up kind of going with their kids and sending them off that way.
Also, the two major things that I heard some more aligned, like the fact that students actually engaged in a prom consistently for 3 hours, where at previous proms, kids will show up for 30 minutes and be gone. Do their photos, do their dress, say hello, eat some food, and bounce out. That actually the kids for 3 hours. I also say it also reduced the interest or desire to pre-party a little bit more because you're going on a boat. That was there was prom jail. So we did have prom jail. But it was not, it was actually students, I think, really took the experience very seriously and had just kind of engaged with it together more from students just reaching out about it. I do, there are pros and cons of all the different things, but seeing it past proms, you would see, 30 kids will be there maybe. And then they go off to other things. So.
Yeah. I mean the
Maybe a
fact that
bigger
the kids, yeah, I guess the bigger boat, I think is really the right message. But yeah, I think having the students kind of locked in the boat, I think did help contain that.
Right.
But yeah, the students that did have a lot of fun, they did enjoy themselves. I'm not saying that they didn't. But there was a lot of waves of, students, just having to go, from one floor to another floor. I don't know, just to experience other things or just because things were so packed in certain floors and things like that.
Sorry.
Okay, great. Okay, so thank you for that, Alicia. I think is a good comment on prom and the pros and cons of the boat. Okay, one other thing. So we're about to go into closed session, but I just wanted to do a little recognition for our 3 student representatives. Only one is here, but yes.
Japan. Go check his Instagram. In there every step of the way. Oh, I love.
Yeah. So George did say, as a surprise to us at the May meeting, that he would not be here on today because he was going to be in Japan. So unfortunately, he's gone. But we do have a sort of a recognition award for Jaya Lee. Okay. And we also have one for George Gravillis as well. And then we have one for Catherine Talmers. So Catherine, here you go. Thank you, Gravis.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
I
Join
am
up.
going to Purdue. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did he say?
I'm sorry.
What did he say?
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh.
You should see the shrine in his office.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I am also a Purdue alum. So it was awesome to see the Talmers sisters attending Purdue. So that was really cool.
Thank you. Right. Okay. Is there a motion to move into closed session? Okay, second. Okay, all those in favor? Okay. Okay, I'm in closed session. Let's do this like a 2-minute bio break and then we can continue. I just need to head over there. Yes. Bathroom break.
Bye-bye. Oh, he needs the bio. That's what this is. Oh, Lord. Oh, wait, can I take a picture of George's thing? He'll be really happy if I said.
Can I see his Instagram? I don't want to follow.
Oh,
him.
yeah, no,
It's
sure.
Weird.
Oh my God. His Instagram is the most colorful thing on earth.
I bet. I love that kid.
We have public participation.
No, we never did. Or at the beginning.
We did it at the beginning.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? I asked.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, you asked. Let me see.
I did public participation at the start and I did just kind of ask, so, but I didn't see any. No, I don't. think you did this.
No, I don't.
Oh, wait.
That's good. Because I already did.
He said like.
I know.
His bio comes Sunday.
Can I see where his story?
Yeah. So.
Although,
Probably not.
like I say, you'll see them.
I'll push it to sign it before I.
Who's he with?
His parents.
Oh, that's
You're just be glad it's not one of his political.
I love that
Like his
kid.
Instagram stories. Gay kid with. And then he texted me.
Love him.
We were supposed to give a. And he texts him, he goes. I like to use. Talk about political climate. I'm like.
He did great though. He was great.
Oh,
Yeah.
But also, not all of them about we like to refrain from.
Yeah.
And he texted me, he's like, I don't speak on the political climate. I'm like, wait, 1, repeat. 2, no. Like, also. We had 2 days. And I wrote mine something like word long. That's why I took this.
We could have planned for that.
I asked him about. He's
Whatever.
nothing. No. Everybody got cord. They got their cords. That was it. There was no awards. I mean.
So yeah, he goes live all the time.
Did anybody listen or read the new Jake Tapper book? You hear about it? Did you? You didn't. Original Sin.
Oh, yeah. I was
So upsetting.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a definitely, yeah.
My God. Thank you.
Graduation was really.
So happy. I was like honestly really nervous through but like I tried to like include as many like jokes and as much sarcasm as I could in my speech so I could be like so people wouldn't like falling asleep and be like, why is this girl on stage? Like, what is she doing here? So I tried to be like, yeah, in the midst of all these like really long and boring speeches about like, yay, high school, like back when in my day, you know, whatever. I tried to be like, yeah, well, I had a part where I was like wherever you go, take with you like the friendships, the lessons, but also the experiences of the last minute 2 a.m. essays written entirely by panic and caffeine. Wait, no, but no. That was also how that essay worked because these needed the draft or like the final draft. But after that, she needed the final draft. And then after I was like, still editing. So I printed out my own copy and brought it up with me. But it was like getting really late because I needed to practice it, say it over a bunch of times. And then she was, and then like I finished my speech and I was like, and I was reading off of my copy. So I was like, okay, now what? But in the book, they had what I was supposed to say next. So I was like literally into the microphone. I was mumbling. I was like, I don't really know if I'm supposed to introduce anyone. And then I flipped the pages and then I was like, oh, next we're gonna be hearing from blah blah blah. So awkward. But I think I was like confident in my words. So it wasn't like questioning what I was saying. But I'm very happy that I was not like shaking and being like, oh my God. I mean, I think it's also because I've been on a stage a bunch of times before. A lot of people hadn't, and like they hadn't done like public speaking and stuff. I don't do like, I've done it from choir, and like I started choir when I was 6. So like I have the stage experience. But the singular experience, I don't know. Baba, will you sign that, please? No, I want to send a picture to George.
Oh, Georgie. Oh,
You didn't sign any of them.
I signed yours.
Um,
That's not.
Maybe you signed mine, but no one else. His Instagram is here. That's so fun. Just put it, do I need to, okay, period. You want, people want.
Yeah, no, I think my job is.
I got strawberry.
Right.
We missed Tuesday. Okay.
Please.